Now for our classic movie, a movie that has literally nothing in common with this one, except for the fact that it also streams on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Uh, We've got Death Wish,
Yes, that was Charles Bronson.
uh, uh, filmed in Bronson, Missouri.
Yeah. Hey Ma, how about some cookies?
No dice.
This ain't over.
I forget who on the Simpsons cast does Charles Bronson, but they do him so well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah.
So Daniel, you know what I was not expecting? Okay, so I had never seen this movie before.
I hadn't either. Yeah.
I had seen Razor Fist's review of it many, many years back.
Mhm.
So like, but I don't think I had any of you know like when you know you've reviewed something and every single thing just jumps out at you like, oh yeah, then this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And
Yeah.
then there's times where it's like, I know I saw a review of this, but everything is
Yeah.
mildly surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was in the second category, so it was a fresh experience for me. Um, you know what I was not expecting this movie to be?
What was that?
Political.
Yeah.
Like the reputation that that this series has, and they made these for literally 20 years.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
looked it up on the numbers. It seems like it had a Rambo trajectory where it started off as a serious introspective movie, and then by the end of it, it was just completely goofy and ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. The sequels. Most of the sequels, I believe, were produced by Canon Films.
Okay,
Yeah.
Charles, why are you still in these movies? Well, I got bills to pay.
Yeah. I got an ex-wife. I'm still paying. I don't know if he had an ex-wife. I don't know.
It seems like something somebody with his voice would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get into the politics of it later. But so broad strokes of it, this was set in the 1970s, which 1970s New York had a
Mhm.
like, we're having a problem with crime in this country right now. 1970s crime wave laughs at us for calling what we have right now a crime wave.
Yeah. Yeah. My late uncle was living in New York at that time, and yeah, he would tell me that he would have to walk around with his keys in between his fingers, so that if he
Oh,
got mugged, he could like claw them away.
wow.
Yeah. And he'd have to wear like a cheap watch, like clear. He had a clear wallet with he kept like couple of bucks on him. Yeah,
Yeesh. Because they have to go to ridiculous lengths because things were not good.
right. Things were not good. Yeah, they were very very bad.
So in the context of this, you have Charles Bronson's character named Paul Kersey.
Hmm.
He has a great life. Great life. He's wealthy enough that he can go to Hawaii on vacation. Beautiful wife, beautiful daughter, useless son-in-law
Yeah,
who keeps calling him dad, which confused me slightly.
that's not entirely unusual. My sister in law calls my parents mom and dad.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
I guess the way he does it makes him seem more useless
Oh yeah,
some, somehow.
yeah, that's true.
So, um, so everything seems to be going great. Well, Paul Kersey is living the life.
Hmm.
Uh, and then and
Yeah.
then one day, his wife and daughter are at the grocery store, and they arrange to have their groceries delivered home. And some um, some punks who are just out for no good
Mhm.
uh, decide, sure, why not them?
Yeah. One of them is played by Jeff Goldblum.
Which when I was like, is that Jeff Goldblum? As soon as I started typing into Bing, is Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
The first result was the punk in Death Wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently, a lot of other people had the same reaction I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the punks break into the apartment and they do bad things to Paul's wife and daughter.
Yeah,
Um,
things we don't want to discuss on YouTube.
right. Yeah. And
This is not one for the kiddies, folks.
No, no, it's not one for the kiddies. Yeah, so his wife dies. His daughter becomes catatonic,
Mhm.
and so he's trying to cope with all of it. And like as you said, his of course his son-in-law is useless and isn't helping out at all, really.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then he goes to he's working on this. He goes to Tucson, Arizona, on a business trip because he's
Right. Basically, his boss says, you need to get out of here for a while."
yeah, yeah, and so he meets. So he starts hanging around with this landowner, land developer that they're working with, and shows him his gun collection or takes him to the gun club.
Yep.
And you learn a little bit more about Paul. You find out that he was in Korea.
As a conscientious objective,
Yes, yeah, he was a medic, um, and
a crack shot because of a childhood of hunting.
hunting, right? Yeah, and you find out that his dad died in a hunting accident, and that's why he didn't really like guns anymore because his mom was kind of like Mariko.
Yeah, pacifist character from Magpie Wizard, for the record.
Yes, and he lived his life basically as a as his office buddy called him, just a total bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah. Yeah, when we unpin that politics pin, we'll be talking about that.
Yes, yeah. And but then so then the guy gifts him a gun,
Mhm.
which back then you could get through get through on a check bag through
Yeah,
security. The good old days.
yeah. Like, and he didn't even let him know he was giving him the gun. Like, here are these two gifts for you, and it's just two pistols,
Yes,
one
and
sensible sized, one f off sized.
yeah. And yeah, so then he goes back to New York, and uh, although I can't remember, was this before or after he went to Arizona when he goes to the bank and gets $20 in quarters.
This was, I want to say this is after.
After, yeah, so he knowing that he probably needs to defend himself, he gets a 20, a couple of $10 quarter rolls, puts them in a sock, and he gets mugged. Yeah, and he gets the sock and he hits the guy right in the face, and that was his kind of his first taste of vigilantism. And then he gets another one when he's out walking, and then guy tries to mug him, and he just turns around and shoots him.
Yep. And so begins the overall, like that's like the first act. The rest of the movie is basically him having a few more of these encounters in
Mhm.
the reaction to the city of having somebody who just goes out there looking for trouble, and when someone tries to mug him, blam, blam, blam.
Yep.
It's just like, how would the city respond? How would the government respond? How do the people of the city respond? How do muggers respond?
Mhm.
And there's a scene in the movie where it's yeah, but his useless son-in-law never finds out like what he's up to.
Yeah.
But the two of them are talking, and this is after he's come back from Arizona, and I believe he and his son are talking about, what do we do? What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Uh, what do you call somebody who's when there's trouble is just willing to live in fear? I don't know, civilized.
Yeah.
Are we not pioneers anymore? If we aren't, what are we?
Yeah.
and they have a just from the reputation, I was not expecting this movie to be smart. I have to admit.
Yeah.
Like, I did not expect it to really have a thesis. I thought it was just gonna be Charles Bronson wasting people the entire movie.
Yeah, more in line with the sequels.
Yep. But, this one definitely has a point of view, and, um, if we often criticize movies on this channel for being overly political in the other way, I feel like I have to be mildly critical of this one for being very one-sided.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it is very much, like, it keeps taking jabs at, um, bleeding heart liberals. At one scene, you have a cocktail party where somebody says, "Well, the vigilante kills more blacks than whites." She says, "What are we supposed to get more representation in muggers?"
Yeah. Which, if you think about it, could that could be those are probably conversations and cocktail parties in New York right now.
Yeah, like, it feels like something like out of a Daily Wire movie or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess it just goes to show you that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Um, and the movie is definitely of the opinion that things would be better if people stood up for themselves.
Mhm.
Like, you see the result, you see the effects it has on people. Like, they have an old woman who's interviewed where she ran off her muggers with a hat pin. He
Yeah.
actually does have a noted increase on the number of muggings per week in the city because the criminals realize, ah, crap,
Yeah.
we could actually get shot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, and what I like too was that the cop that's going after him is slightly incompetent.
See, I didn't necessarily. Hmm.
Well, not incompetent, just kind of what's the word I'm
He's
looking for?
definitely a blowhard.
Blowhard. Yeah, yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah,
Like, he's definitely cocky. He walks around like he knows everything, which
yeah,
I got the impression he was pretty smart. Just he was kind of like he did come up with a plan and a way to figure out who he was.
right. Yeah.
Now, did he actually find out who he was? Let's not spoil that. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because I think I put this in the recommend category. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you're of a political stance where you would find the concept of it's basically a good guy with a gun, the movie.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say kind of the prototype for that genre of movie. Definitely the good guy with the good guy with the gun, revenge, vigilante type, yeah, story.
Right. Because um, unlike some of the other movies we criticize for politics on here, I would say that you definitely see where he's coming from, like why he would be driven to this.
Yeah,
Because it's a system that won't do anything about it. And, if the system won't do anything about it, then I will.
yeah. Which
Gee, thank you, YouTube, for alerting me on my phone that the Critique Corner podcast has started.
oh, way to go, you two.
Only 55 minutes late.
Jeez. That could explain the viewership right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, well, probably some of our regulars are busy tonight.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, let's see here. So before I got distracted by that dinging noise, so it's political. I could see
Uh,
people finding this unpleasant just because there are some very graphic scenes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the scene with his wife and daughter. Yeah, that.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. It
Yeah.
doesn't get quite that bad again the whole movie.
No, it doesn't. But yeah, that one scene though is just like, oh. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's uh, yeah, like you said, it's very it is more thought provoking than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And it's you know, I can see, he's definitely a character you end up rooting for as the
Yeah.
movie progresses. Because I don't want to compare him to Batman because of course Batman's whole thing is of course they're completely different for two reasons. One, Batman doesn't use a gun. Two, he doesn't kill anybody.
Actually, thank you for bringing that up, bringing up comic books, because I
Yeah.
realized this is the same time period that gave us the Punisher.
Ah.
So, uh,
Mm.
let's see here. When did the Punisher come out?
That's a good question. Yeah. Did this movie influence the Punisher?
Let's see here. The Punisher, Jerry Conway, Amazing Spider-Man 129, February 1974.
Okay,
So,
so right around the same time.
yeah, and this was based on a book, so I'm going to presume that they were just two independent people having the similar thoughts about situations in society at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the other thing I wasn't expecting, like, I even remember dismissively going, "Oh, gee, why? Yeah, why does the soundtrack by?" Actually, let me pull up IMDb here because it's worth mentioning. Uh,
Yeah. Oh yeah. The music plays a very prominent role in this movie, as music usually did with most movies from this era.
yeah, like it's very interesting soundtrack because it it had the soundtrack won a Grammy for Herbie Hancock.
Mm, wow.
So good on him.
Yeah.
It's an interesting soundtrack because like it drives the emotions. There's a lot of scenes of Charles Bronson honestly just wandering through the park or a subway looking around.
Yeah.
The music gives it menace. It tracks the action perfectly.
Yeah.
It it just it like it's such a necessary part of this movie. So
Yeah.
I see why they gave it such a prominent place in the opening credits.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised by this movie, and also too, it's not very long. It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah, so short and sweet. You can see why it was popular enough that it warranted at least a sequel. Maybe not four sequels. Of
Yeah.
the one thing I'm disappointed by is the one clip I remembered out of context. Line,
Um,
do you believe in Jesus? Because you're gonna meet him.
yeah.
That was apparently in Death Wish too, so I kept waiting for it to be in this one.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, was he say? Was it was in the second one? Yeah.
So, which to be honest, that would be a little bit too silly for this movie because
Yeah.
the, the way he cuts down these muggers he runs into is honestly more like it's like he's putting down animals. He doesn't really talk to them at all.
No, that's right. Yeah, and when he does, he's being very, kind of somewhat nonchalant about it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a this movie is just surprising from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recommend if you don't find the idea of you know gunslinging vigilante offensive somehow, and if you can tolerate, like I was going to call this an exploitation movie just based on just based on that one scene, but it really
Yeah.
changed its tone afterwards.
Yeah. But yeah, I would recommend this movie too. Yeah, if you're not overly sensitive about some of that subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah, it yeah, like it's actually art. I was not expecting art.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that exhausts what we have to say about Death Wish. It is harder to talk about a good thing than a bad thing.
That's true. Yeah.